What are some of the most important concrete legislatable parental obligations? In other words, if you had to take three things that are the most concrete, definable obligations a parent has in raising their children, what is it? Is it to make sure that your child is physically strong? Is it to make sure that your child is well educated? Three things. What are the three most important concrete things that we have an obligation towards our children? Okay, so right, instill values.
Isn't it simple? Isn't it like roof overhead, food?
Food, love, shelter.
Okay, so write it down. Okay. Food, shelter, food, drink, vodka. Okay. Okay, so here's something very interesting. We're going to see what the Talmud says is the obligation of a parent to their children. Okay? Would you guess what that is? What do you think the Talmud says? What's that? You love the last? Oh yeah, you do. Yes. Okay, text number 1. That's good, actually, yeah. Text number 1. Roman, you want to read text number 1? There you go. So that's what the Talmud says. It's interesting, right? So the swimming is interesting, right? Except for Irene. That's right on.
Well, you should tell why, because all of my kids have swum competitively. So
Right.
we didn't know that.
I was just yesterday. I was driving with my kids. We had to go to, we went to a family celebration, and so it's where I was raised. And so we drove past the community college where I took lessons as a kid how to swim. So I said, that's where I learned how to swim.
Your kids swim?
That's where I learned how to swim. Oh, my kids? Yeah, I mean, not all of them. The little ones don't know how to swim. Yeah, but they all, yep. Yeah, so it's interesting. It's a pretty well... Yeah. This is a pretty well-known piece of Talmud. Now, if you look at the question, compare the answers you provided to learning exercise 1 to the Talmud's list of parental obligations. Are there any glaring omissions in the Talmud's list? What do you think the Talmud is missing, Roman, that you said so immediately?
You have to consider how old this writing is. And, I mean, it's...
The kids didn't need food when they were 1,500 years ago? Did they need a roof over their head, clothing?
The appetite kind of goes away.
I think the parents' appetite goes away when you're raising kids, but I don't think the kids' appetite goes away. So let's look at something very interesting here. It's two categories that it's discussing. We have religious, which is circumcise, redeem the firstborn if your firstborn is a son, and teach child Torah, right? Those are all religious. We can see that. Universal is find a spouse, that's what it said, teach a profession, and teach child to swim. Let's try and understand. We're going to go to the universal. It sounds a little bit like an odd collection, right? Totally odd collection. Okay, so let's try and understand the common denominator of them, okay? And then we'll see why they're not that odd. The common denominator is, and we're going to discuss universal first. Can we all relate to the universal well? I mean, finding a spouse, help your child get married, okay. They're all nice things, right? They're not bad things. The question is why they're so primary. So here's what they all really are bringing out, one essential point, and that is that the obligation of a parent is to raise a child to be self-sufficient. To be self-sufficient. To be able to stand on their own feet and go through life on their own. Okay, that doesn't mean that we don't support them, but it means that they can do things on their own. It's interesting that very often, or we'll just say too often, I don't know if it's very often, but it's too often that parents sabotage a child's ability to become self-sufficient because of the parent's need to parent their child, to have their child as a child. So sometimes the parent in their self-absorption never lets the child grow outside of them. You know, they never let them off the leash, so to speak. And the child becomes very dependent on the parents, and you have a 20-year-old who can't get out of the house. I don't mean necessarily to move out, whatever it is, to get things done. And that's exactly the point the Talmud is bringing over here, okay? When we talk about finding a spouse for our children, what do you need in order to be able to get married? You need to be emotionally stable. You need to know how to relate with other people, how to have relationships with other people. You need to value family life. You need to know what it means to be responsible and caring, right? All of these things come from when parents raise their children with the focus of them becoming independent. Okay, do you see that? So that's the idea of finding a spouse. Teaching our children a profession. That is, of course, self-sufficient. A child needs to learn how to sustain themselves materially and financially, so they can be materially and financially self-sufficient. And that means them being capable of taking on some type of a job and making a living. Main thing is their ability not to be dependent on us. Right? Now, of course, things happen in life, and of course, we as parents are there to always help them. However, that's not, we still want to raise them to give them the best ability to be self-sufficient. Okay?